gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts.
Last man standing.
Okay. And we are live. This is Addy Ads, Attican. And I'm here at the Neighborhood News Hour Swing State Studios. We just got finished watching the Tony Bobulinsi chat with Tucker Carlson. We're gonna give you guys our thoughts on that and our thoughts on this election week. This is Late Night Uncensored with Deep Journo, Deep Journalist, aka George Webb. I'm joined by Tom CIA, Detroit Dave, Dave Underdown, and the incomparable Super Jew, Mr. Aaron Adler himself, the co-founder here. And we had a pretty good refueling session as we watched the Tony Bobulinsi chat. We got our coffee going, late night session here. We want to thank everybody for tuning in with us. We are live on brand YouTube, and I will put the Entropy chat link in the live chat as well. Don't worry about the carpet. So people can do super chats and uncensored chat as well. So I will put that in the description, or excuse me, the live chat right now if people want to do that. Again, Entropy, for those that haven't used, it's a way for people to chat and give super chats, even if my channel is demonetized, which it is. So we have one channel left. Well, basically two, really, amongst our close group here with Paul Cottrell. We talked earlier this evening, but a couple guys still up at it. McDuff has got a backup channel that he's doing, McDuff_2020, and Major Prather as well is still on the air on the YouTube airways. He gave us a bump earlier today. We want to give a shout out to Major Prather for that. But without further ado, the big man is going to give us his thoughts on the Bobulinsi situation. So without further ado, George, what do you think of the chat we just saw?
You never ever bury the lead. You never ever bury the lead. You never bury the lead. Watch my coffee. Watch my coffee, Dave. Dave, watch my coffee. You never bury the lead. The lead is, this was aired directly by Fox Broadcasting tonight. Hunter Biden has a BlackBerry. Now it's going to be a Senate BlackBerry. It's going to be a Senate BlackBerry, folks. Now, what? So the 4 years that I've been, or 3.5 years that I've been harassed by this idiot on who I led right to water and figured the whole thing out. It's going to be a Senate Biden. It's going to be a BlackBerry from the Senate. Okay. Now the Senate negotiates treaties for the United States. So the State Department does the encryption. The Senate, believe it or not, as smart as they are, doesn't do the encryption. The BlackBerries for both of these guys, Biden and Devin, now we know they both use them. They got the BlackBerry from this guy who actually has been in the Senate for 36 years. And the guy I was talking to who said he worked for him for 36 years. Doing what? Treaties, okay? There is the BlackBerry, an idiot pixelated it 3.5 years ago. There is the unpixelated image, the original picture, and it shows it came from the Senate, right? There's me holding it with a Columbia shirt saying that the Senate's cutting over from BlackBerries to Apple, right? What do we have Bobulinsi saying? 2 BlackBerries cut over to an Apple. Okay, Apple 9, which is later. And we're going to walk over here. There was two meetings, okay, right here, okay? And Bill Taylor, it's either Bill Taylor or somebody who looks exactly like him, like his brother, okay? So we need a baseline here, which is it's not in question anymore if Hunter had a BlackBerry. Hunter has a BlackBerry. Where did he get it is the next question. Now, Dave Hunter Down asked the great question, which was, if Mr. Biden BlackBerry, the guy I meet with, is telling the truth, we got these BlackBerries from the House guys. They were the ones who did Libya and Syria and Yemen and all that, and Sudan and the Iran nuclear deal. We didn't get them until Heinz gets one from Kerry for negotiating the Iran nuclear deal. So we're on the end of this thing. We're the caboose on this thing. Where could some of these BlackBerries have come from? I have said all along they came from the Iran nuclear deal, because I know that the Senate and senators used State Department BlackBerries where they tried to negotiate that deal. It fell through. So they went ahead and did the deal themselves with Gang of Eight. There is another thing I didn't think of, which Dave mentioned, is the one that Luke Rosiak reported, the theft of 20 BlackBerries of Imran Awan, and they're found over at the House, which means that I was given the Senate BlackBerry by one guy, and he's saying, the reason why I'm giving it to you is so you don't think I'm involved with the 20 BlackBerries you found over at Imran's house. See how he's drawing a bright line between the House BlackBerries over there, I've said this for 2 years, and the Senate BlackBerries over here. David, I think you're right. The day it cuts over, and the day they decide this operation to hang it on the Bidens, is when Trump wins. That blows up all their plans.
So yeah, just my comments on that, just with the, the stolen devices on election night, that was something that got swept under the rug with, a lot of other things. So, that was the first thing I thought of as far as, what happened with those devices, how could this, logically, going through the different scenarios, how would they have come about? And that does seem like there would be a linkage there. I know there was, it didn't seem like much investigation of that situation, obviously being a serious crime.
Let me throw this out to you guys, because Bobulinsi confirms a couple of things. And I think going to the facts here, rather than Bobulinsi saying he's patriotic, blah, blah, blah.
We did get a couple people missed it. She couldn't find the ECAT. So we want to talk about the chat a bit, George, before we go into the background, because this is something we noticed. Bob was saying that they're trying to make sure that no one sees the chat. Basically, the reason we saw, you get like a free hour, a free 60 minutes if you go on the Fox News website. So fortunately, we took advantage of that. But what did you think of the chat itself?
You mean Tom said that?
Yeah, Tom CAA said that. But what I'm saying is, what did you think of the chat itself before we go into the background? What did you think of the chat we just saw? For those that didn't get to see it,
I didn't watch the chat. I didn't watch the chat. I was looking at the pictures. I saw Hunter Biden with the BlackBerry. I saw two of the other partners with BlackBerries. I can't remember if it was Jim Gilliar or Tom, whatever.
James Gilliar.
James Gilliar, and then Jim Biden also had a BlackBerry. And again, wouldn't it make sense that, hey, we're switching over between BlackBerries and Apple? This is my perfect excuse to give my BlackBerry back to my IT guy. And can't we do one last caper before we have to crush these things? Or maybe we can do two capers. If you listen to Bobulinsi tonight, so I didn't see the chat. So if you want to,
we saw the conversation, right?
Well, I heard Bobulinsi say, I met with James, who had a BlackBerry, and Hunter, who had a BlackBerry, in Luxembourg. We had said that that's where the NATO store of weapons was. Okay. I'd had a covert meeting. He didn't say what day, but he had a covert meeting in Luxembourg. That's where we said that everybody airlifted the weapons. They had a covert meeting in Romania. We had said that Guccifer was being recast as the hacker of Sony, when in fact he'd been doing the weapons for the Maidan. And that's why they put him away, because that was a loose end there. And so Hunter Biden and James Biden are meeting Bobulinsi in Romania. They're also meeting in Kazakhstan. We had said that Idrisov and Kerry had negotiated a deal for the yellow cake to make the Iran deal happen. And so you would have the inside on who is going to get the yellow cake contract to sell that. And it was done through a Ukrainian oligarch named Kolomoisky. That also was, they also said that they had met in Ukraine. And they had said that Hunter Biden was saying he was the personal, his phone coming in, he was saying he's the personal representative of Chairman Yi. That is my chairman. He was also the personal representative and had a screaming match with Zlochevsky, who was the head of Burisma. So why that person wouldn't be carrying an encrypted BlackBerry when he's working with heads of state and the heads of the companies that are running all these weapons operations is beyond me. Of course, it's Hunter Biden with the BlackBerry. And that's why Mr. Biden BlackBerry was telling me that it was only them doing the energy deals and not the Navy guys doing all the weapons deals. These Navy guys are all going to go back. These Navy guys are all going to go back to Libya, Syria, Sudan, Yemen. And they also said they met in Oman, which is the staging area for Yemen. So there you go.
One thing is Kevin Timmers asking about the revelation that Hunter was the personal attorney to Chairman Yee, and you know what your thoughts are on that. I didn't realize that Hunter. I mean, I knew he was a Yale law school grad.
Well, let me ask you this question:
I didn't realize he was a practicing attorney.
Would you, knowing you're negotiating with the richest guy in the world, or with a guy who owns a $323 billion company, would you have an encrypted BlackBerry in your communications, or would you just communicate in plain text? You're running around with the chairman of one of the richest.
Wouldn't you just use a Zoom meeting for that?
Yeah, you could use Zoom
or TikTok.
Yeah, Zoom, because our good friend
or WhatsApp. I feel like WhatsApp gets hacked a lot, though. It seems like everybody gets hacked on WhatsApp. So
Belt and Road's confirmed. He said
Belt and Road is confirmed.
So that's one thing that really stuck out for me is when you look at what the Communist Party can do versus capitalism. Basically, what China has been doing is importing capitalism to take care of the things that a communist regime cannot do. And one example of that is just the pandemic lockdown situation where you saw authoritarian governments having a lot more success implementing lockdowns. So there's the pros and cons of having a democracy, a republic, and a communist regime. And they were doing this, according to Bobulinsi, and it makes sense to me with the CEFC, which we have been covering in their Belt and Road initiative.
Yeah, basically, I can't do a side deal for all the top guys at the CCP through the Politburo or whatever their big Politburo meeting is in front of 900 people, you know, these massive meetings they have, the party meetings. You have to do it on the side through a sidebar company, and that's what Bobulinsi was offering. And Chairman Yee is the guy who was running around. It's a $323 billion company. That's a lot of money. It's going to be BlackBerries. It's going to be encrypted. It's not. Hunter Biden's not going to run around knowing his dad might be the president of the United States. And at that time, vice president, the current sitting vice president, without an encrypted BlackBerry. He could use his dad's BlackBerry because his dad is in charge of Navy intelligence. The vice president's in charge. Can't count how many times we went up there toward the vice president's mansion and said that that's how he got the encrypted BlackBerry.
What did it mean, Bobulinsi? And this is actually something Dave and I briefly discussed. Is coming off the bench. We just made a clip about it. Is that just a figure of speech, you think, coming off the bench?
No, it isn't. I don't think it. I mean, it's a figure of speech in sports, obviously, but what I took that to mean is, hey, I've done my gun running. I've been a CIA gun runner. We all are CIA gun runners. You go by operation to operation. If I was involved, and this is why Bobulinsi kept on saying, I don't think it's going to be about me anymore. Find out his service record. You're going to see it's going to be Libya. It's going to be Syria, just like I've been saying. It was these guys at UCOM.
Bobulinsi's service record.
Q clearance, Navy.
So,
yes.
How many times did he
Q
say
clearance,
Navy?
Navy, and
10 times in the interview.
10 times he said that. And what?
Maybe 8.
And also, what you're going to have to look at is the fact that he was going to all these places and all these meeting points where these weapons are stored and airlifted. That's the other thing. Recently.
So Bobulinsi, in a sense, is jumping ship, you would say?
No. Bobulinsi's trying to entrap Hunter Biden to make this a Biden thing rather than their guys' thing. They're the bank robbers. So, Bobulinsi's the bank robber.
And they showed a bit of the phone call, too. I can't remember who it was with. So if somebody remembers, help me out here. But he basically said, Tony, you're going to bury us all, man.
That was Rob Walker.
Rob Walker, yeah.
I have
spokesman.
Yeah, spokesman. And all these guys, the reason why they use them is because they have clearances, just like J.D. Gordon. They have clearances. They're all ex-Navy. These guys are all, knew each other from previous operations.
And Yale.
And that's how they're allowed to have the clearance to carry out these activities with encrypted BlackBerries. There you go. Yale as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, because
Rob Walker's Yale.
Well, I don't know if Rob Walker was, but I know when we were looking at Rosemont Seneca that Devin Archer and Chris Heinz were roommates, I think, at Yale together. So,
And the other one who's been financing these covert actions since the beginning of time, not the beginning of time, but since the World War II with Mueller, is the crime family, the patriarchal crime family, represented in the same company by our good friend Whitey Bulger's nephew, right? Billy Bulger Jr., not the older Billy Bulger.
Yeah.
You know, we had a great comment today. It's like from a guy from Boston.
Yeah,
He goes,
Mr. Boston Lockdown.
he goes, it's amazing how Billy Bulger couldn't find Whitey Bulger in 42 years.
yeah, his own brother.
He put a payphone in his backyard to talk to him. You know, it's pretty funny.
I want to make just a slight opening statement. We're not going to go 2 hours tonight, right,
No,
team?
no,
I mean,
no.
our audience should not get ready for 2 hours, more an hour.
No,
Eddie, thank you so much for hosting the Ospreys. I am a Osprey at heart, right? YouTube, Schmootube. I'm just researching Osprey. And George, I want to say to you, can you guys join me here?
Yeah.
And can our chat maybe give some emojis?
all in a day's
4
work.
years. No, all in 4 years work.
All in 4 years work.
George.
All in 4 years
This
work. right
is
Everybody working together.
This
All in
is
4 years.
everybody working together.
Yep.
I don't know. Have you had more shining moments? I know it's in
This
the
is
election.
right up there.
I know we're right, like in the heat of the battle, right before the election, and
You know,
it's intense, but
the only other
dude.
time I felt this vindicated, I'll be honest, the only other time I felt this vindicated was when Jason had Taggart on.
Yeah.
And Taggart,
That was
and Taggart saying,
That's a fact
yeah,
witness, though.
yeah, it was a bag of blackberries. Yeah, it had the markings, just like the ones George found and was left when they left in the blackberry.
Well,
Huh.
Tucker's cooler than Jason, so
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it was,
I'd rather have a beer with Tucker.
it was
than
still
Jason.
vindication. And the beautiful thing about that's why I say I don't want Jason to be slowed down. I want Jason to go,
Yeah,
go.
Yeah.
Because when he tries to destroy you, right,
Mhm.
he comes up and produces all this evidence that vindicates me. So I was like, go, Jason, go. You know?
Yeah.
Well, but that was a couple of years ago now. I
Yeah.
mean, that was 17 when Jason interviewed Taggart, right? 2017.
He came back and did a
So,
second
like,
interview.
I mean, we're
And
talking
all these
just
naval
like-
Q clearance guys
We
too.
did it,
I feel like that,
Ospreys.
you know,
we did it.
I think we cracked the back of
Takes them all.
the network
We
tonight.
cracked the.
We-
well-
we cracked the back of the BlackBerry network. Now it's just a matter of Trump can see it, right?
Mhm.
If Trump can see that this because
Well,
they
it's just
really
been going on behind his back.
well,
It's- yeah,
it was the
it's
son,
hard.
it was the son of a vice president, the son of the Secretary of State. I mean, these are key actors, and I mean, those are the facts. It's hard to
refute.
to argue that. Those who those people are, and we know that the technical letter of the law is that they legally can, I think, take. I don't even know exactly what the rules are, but they seem to indicate that this technically is not an illegal activity, but dealing with this, the state of China, with their state-sponsored energy banks, things like that. It seems like that would
It'd be like a civil forfeiture
it
case
just
instead of like.
seems like a deal that
shady.
the Secretary of State or the Department of Energy should
Would
be
be
handling, and not Bohai Harvest run by the
well,
Rosemont
those
Seneca
are the
crew.
front companies that are doing it. I mean, it is being run by the State Department. It is being run by the Department of Energy, right?
Well-
They're the ones that are making the decision to take the modular reactors that are coming out of Lawrence Livermore, right, and then give it to the Chinese if we'll go and have these on all the energy in Southeast Asia.
It is,
you know?
but this, I mean, I feel
Central
like these
Asia.
kind of deals should be, above board and like,
Yeah,
for
right.
public consumption, things that kind of topics that the voters would think about when choosing a candidate, things like this, how this is handled. This is insane.
Yeah, I mean the problem with Hunter Biden, though, I mean not Hunter Biden, but with Tucker Carlson tonight, he let the guy go on and on a half an hour about how patriotic his family is.
Over and over.
What difference does it make? Show me the evidence. Tell me what day you met with Hunter Biden in Luxembourg. Tell me what day you met, or what month, let's say, that you met in Romania. What month did you meet in Kazakhstan? And I noticed just the metadata. Just the metadata was he held Kazakhstan way back here. He was Luxembourg,
once.
Romania. The text message you've seen is Romania. That's where Soros has a lot of weapons factories. The text message was Romania. Then at the end, well, I guess Kazakhstan, because Frank Juster Partners was Kazakhstan. Idrisov, Kerry had actually made Kazakhstan one of the locations for the Iran nuclear deal negotiations. Come on, man. This is too easy. Come on, man.
So they didn't talk Syria, Libya, Yemen, Sudan,
No.
anything like that. Just
Never
as you
got
also
into
predicted, they
Right.
would never say.
But
But they-
those were airlifted. What I'm
But
saying
they
is,
did say not Chad, but the adjacent country to right.
Djibouti?
No. They talked about.
Well, they said 2 African presidents.
They said Oman though. They mentioned
Oman.
You
But
know,
they said 2 African presidents were bribed. One was
Shoeboxes of money.
One was Chad, and the other's going to be Congo. Let me just tell you.
Shoebox of money was Ho, I think, that was getting shoeboxes.
But he used the shoeboxes of money to bribe 2 guys. Why? Because we go back to the 2 Congo gal, the pretty gal from Congo, and the guy. Uranium. They needed the Congo yellow cake. We've said this for 3 years, but they needed that to complete the Iran deal. The next country over, and the reason why they're showing you Chad and hiding Congo, even though Hunter Biden has a lot of contacts in Congo, is because they don't want you to connect the dots. This was needed to do the Iran nuclear deal. They don't want you to.
We're going to have to do a deep dive later on all the Nazis that went to the Congo after the war. There's a lot.
Okay.
Aaron and I will get the history deep dives down pat.
So what do you got in the chat?
Let's check out the chat here. Connie Bevan just joined, so you're not too late there, Connie, as ECAT said. But I just wanted to say, Ezra was saying, who we actually met. He says, it's been a bit of an emotional ride, and I just want to say I'm really, I haven't been an Osprey since the beginning. I don't claim to be. I'm a fledgling Osprey, still a juvenile. Still I think they change colors as they get older. So
50 years from now, you're going to be a really important Osprey. Some of these Ospreys might not be around or might be on the back 9 50 years from now. The Ospreys here don't care when you got in. They're very excited you're here.
Right.
They're pretty excited I'm here, but I'm pushing over the hill. I'll be over the hill before I know it. Your youthfulness is a very exciting addition. And thanks for hosting.
Yeah,
and
of course. Thank you, Aaron.
Doing a
Aaron's,
great job.
he's still a young guy. He's not old enough to be my dad, but he could be a young uncle. He's like the young, cool uncle.
I'm not old enough to really be your grandfather. Physically, I am.
Well, yeah.
But I have kids your age, so.
George's kids are actually older than me by a little bit.
A little bit, okay.
that.
Either way, don't worry about when you got on board. I mean, all the Ospreys flock together. I mean, so,
Kathy Sue says that you have the Osprey stamp though too.
Oh, Osprey
Yeah.
stamp.
There you go.
I
The
got
stamp
it
of
from
approval has been stamped. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. Right
But
there.
anyway, so what do you think about tonight? I mean, we're all having this victory lap, and
I just wanted to extend my gratitude to this community. Kind of led by George here and all these great people. I just never, and we were talking a bit about this sentiment with Paul earlier tonight. I sent an email to Paul earlier this year in the spring, and he responded, and we spoke a few days later. And a few days later after that, I spoke with George. And me and George really hit it off. And
Here, I'm just going to put this by you.
I bought George's books. I read
Did the
George's
review?
books. I've done book reviews of George's books, and it's
those
just
caught you up fast, right?
Yeah.
I need to reread them. They're very dense, and I actually haven't finished my my review of this one, which is actually banned book here, digital burning. This is actually the real burning.
And
of the
see
band.
that sign? That's the uranium sign. That's the broker right there, Kolomoisky.
So, a year ago and 2 years ago, it's just like so much change has happened for all of us and for me in my life for the past year. Just talking about Paul Cottrell with the craziness of this 2020 year, really. We met in the spring now, and now we're heading to the fall, or we're in the fall, and winter. Hopefully, this dark winter is not around the corner, but there's winter is coming. And I do want to say I don't think the victory is secured until Biden loses. Really,
Can we speculate now?
This is just a
Well, I want
victory.
to say that I feel like I got to put on my Adam Schiff hat and say that this is a Russian disinformation campaign.
Sure.
How do you respond to that, George? This is a Russian disinfo.
Well, even Bobulinsi said that they went to Moscow, and I had my interpolated, the percentages in billions interpolated with the Rosneft deal. Thank you. The Rosneft deal I had said was 9%, and then 14 billion, but it was 14% and 9 billion. Right. So I interpolated that. I dyslexic sometimes, but the bottom line there is that the Russians are involved in this deal, and they were laundering Buffett's slug in the deal through Byrne. And central banks, the transactions from the central banks don't hit FinCEN. The FBI doesn't see transactions between the central banks. We also, going back to deep uranium, he said that trade credits were used as sort of a currency of the underworld. State Department and the IMF give you trade credits. Then you could trade those if you're not using them. So that's why I would be bribing the president of Chad and the president of Congo, because they don't need the trade credits, but they want to get the money if you're going to get the yellow cake, right? The third thing, when I thought of Luxembourg, I thought of another show that Jason did with the guy who was representing the Rothschilds. And they were actually using the old Mitsubishi bonds in the suitcases, even though they were worthless, you know, because Japan lost the war, but they were using those and having, when they had leverage on different central bankers, to have their government back the full credit of those Mitsubishi bonds. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hunter Biden wasn't in Luxembourg taking the Mitsubishi bonds over to the old Nazi headquarters there, and right next to it, right next to it, and I won't say how I know this, but I know this from family, there is the airlift capability of NATO for all the NATO countries. And the reason why they put it in Luxembourg, just so they couldn't have all these people arguing with each other.
Yeah.
And we are joined by Mr. Shrimp Zoo.
I saw that. I thought, am I hallucinating or what? You know,
no,
so
the mask is
from New York. Can you hear us okay there, Shrimp?
Yeah, I can hear everybody. Good.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Great.
What's the update from Shrimp Zoo? We haven't spoken in a while, Shrimp.
Did he see Bobulinsi tonight?
Did you see Bobulinsi chat with Tucker Carlson tonight there, Shrimp?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay. It'd probably be too tough to update him, you know, but we'll
tell the big stuff, right?
Yeah, the big stuff is Hunter Biden carried the BlackBerry. His dad obviously was involved in these negotiations with the Iran deal. The other people in Rosemont Seneca were obviously involved. Devin Archer was involved as a bag man for John Kerry forever. Heinz, the son-in-law, was involved because he was the son-in-law, so that's where he got his BlackBerry. And Devin Archer, Whitey Bulger's nephew was involved because they give these BlackBerries to people that are criminals so that they can fly the weapons or ship the weapons around. And that's just the name of that tune. And that's the story of Rosemont Seneca.
We didn't get the who Eric was, though. I was hoping it was going to be the Eric Wan, but
whoever. Yeah.
But
we didn't get the big guy question, did we? There was no who's the big guy.
Yeah, there was
the
one.
Hunter asked it as a question, basically confirming that the big guy was Joe.
But there was
Biden.
two chairmen. You know, this is the Bannon thing. When Bannon comes up with these cover stories, he doesn't go through everything, so he writes one down and says, "Okay, the chairman's going to be Hunter Biden." But tonight, a second chairman comes in. You know, and everybody's like, "What the hell? There's two chairmen?" No, there's Chairman Yi of CFC. And that's the people that are the privatized front company for the China guys, right? That's the consortium here. It's an oil deal using the coffee makers, the small modular reactors. End of story. And we're pumping all the gas to these LNG ports. And I love it because we've got the first port there. And we're going to make this Belt and Road. We've confirmed Belt and Road. We're going to make it go all the way across here. We're going to do the whole Belt and Road. We got our first port over there, the first pearl on the pearl necklace. And isn't it great that Hunter Biden's involved in the pearl necklace?
We love the pearl necklace here at the newsroom.
Yep.
No comment.
There you go. Well, I mean, you know, it is
a lot of innuendo going on here today, folks.
No, but they call it the string of pearls.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
But Warren Buffett loves the innuendos though too. When he does the Dairy Queen videos with Bill Gates, there's a lot of innuendo that's laced in there. So we feel like that's a green light.
Okay.
Let your Padawans or your proteges do some hypothesizing before you're ready. Dave, I did the first 5. You got to do the next 5.
For next 5 what?
Who are the big guy?
The Bobo and Biden's encrypted BB team. We're going to guess who could have been communicating with these BlackBerries, right? Like there's an encrypted network. There's people on this team, right? I mean, they're not talking to, it's not just Bobulinsi.
Throw Billy Bulger's on there. Billy Bulger was in the company. Throw Chris Heinz in there because he was in the company.
Oh man.
Throw Rob Walker in there. We now know he had an encrypted BlackBerry.
Yeah, 10 spots isn't enough, is it?
No,
Yeah. Gilliar.
High school Gilliard.
Juilla. IAR, Giliar?
No,
J.
I think it's a G. I think it's a G.
Oh, okay.
I
It's a
actually
G.
think it's GI.
That'll be our rough
That's
draft.
what we got.
I'll get a good one here.
Oh, I still need to get. So that's it's
But see what's happening here? They had 3 guys that were moving the NATO weapons, right? And now what they're doing is saying, hey, let's transmogrify this deal into an energy deal. And I know just how to do it because these guys are going to be running around with these Blackberries, okay, encrypted Blackberries. The house Blackberries can talk to the encrypted Blackberries, right? So we can use the same house Blackberries that we use for Libya, and we'll talk to these guys and we'll get them to do the energy deal. Then we'll throw all the Blackberries in Hunter Biden's closet. And then we'll call the FBI and say, oh, I know where he is. He's over there. And we'll get out of this deal. Bobulinsi is going to be the key. Rob Walker's going to be key. Giuliar is going to be key. He's also Navy. And that's the name of that tune. No, I'm not changing one word from Blackberry's Matter. What do you think, Shrimp? He's like, oh my God, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit familiar with the story. I didn't watch the Tucker Carlson thing, but I just caught up on the story a little bit. I think it's a little bit too late, though, to be honest, for Joe Biden's like ex-associate or whatever to come out with this. I'm not sure it will change the elections too much, really. Might for a few people, but I think the mainstream media altogether is basically ignoring this story and just saying it's Russian propaganda, which it doesn't really seem to be.
Yeah,
that's just eating what Adam Schiff is serving up. So maybe people do believe that. I mean, he is.
Well, it is late in the game because if you think about it, like Michigan, 40% of the people have already voted.
Yeah.
30% of the people have already voted in Ohio.
I think I saw that it was like 43 million had voted, and in 2016 it was like 135 million total votes.
I saw that 47% of the country has already voted. Yeah,
It's in the 60 million.
Wow.
yeah,
Number
60
now.
million. Yeah, 47% of the country, which Trump is really promoting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I mean,
Just in the last couple days.
do you guys think that this is going to change the outcome of the election, or?
So close now.
no, it's going to help my book sales though.
The thing is,
So, like,
Man, if you didn't get it earlier, I'm gunning the price of this thing up tomorrow, double. Thank you, God. Thank you, Tony Bobulinsi.
But what if Biden wins? What if Biden wins?
Then this is our ace in the hole. This is our ace in the hole to crack the back. Now,
yeah, if
Up the sleeve.
he wins, they'll continue with the story, I think. They'll get more coverage, maybe.
yeah, and maybe this is the plan by Navy Intel to get CIA to get rid of Biden so that they can put Kamala Harris, and then she's thrown out on the birthright thing, and now we have Nancy Pelosi as an interim.
and Hillary's
Oh my
more
God,
president,
Nancy
too.
Pelosi, are you
Hillary's
serious?
Hillary's waiting in the wings. Yeah,
She was born for the job, so
Oh,
I think this is a coup. This is an early coup, maybe by Navy Intel.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Well,
that's the only
by
reason
Clinton
to do this.
and Pelosi.
Yeah, that's the only reason to run this right now. Why would you run this right now?
Is Bobulinsi connected to Ken Hale and Brian Ball?
Bobulinsi is not. I wouldn't. I mean,
he could be related to Carter Page though, because Carter Page was a Trident scholar,
Yeah.
nuclear expert.
so let me just say what I've said for almost 4 years. EUCOM, European Command, had Africa. They had all of Africa. And that meant that in 2011, they were going to lose AFRICOM, and AFRICOM was going to become its own command. So if you're going to do a topple in Africa, you better do it now. And all the guys who went off and broke off of EUCOM went into AFRICOM. And look at our good friend. This is why Ken Hale threatened to kill my family, right? Because he knew that I knew that Buttigieg had broken off of EUCOM and had went to AFRICOM. And he knows also that I know Buttigieg went all through the Arab Spring countries.
Oh, we got Tim Spencer in
Did I
the
call-
building.
Oh, boy.
Did I call that shot, George?
Yeah, Pete
By
Judy.
putting
There he is. Give him his due.
Yeah, I'm
There, Pete.
There's the man who
I
never
have a
lost.
feeling that, like,
Give him his due. There's a man who never lost confidence. There he is.
Oh, we lost you, Tim.
Where'd he go?
Come back, Tim. Tim's coming back, guys. Don't worry. We're live here. It is Tuesday. It is October the 27th, 2020. This is Late Night with George Webb, Addy Ad, Detroit Dave, Tom CIA, Aaron Adler, and Shrimp Zoo live from Buffalo, New
Oh my
York.
gosh, we forgot to talk about Paul Pelosi too. I feel like he's another character in the mix there.
Tim Spencer, there he is, Paul Pelosi. You see him?
Did you
Tim?
There he is.
did you guys see that shooting that was in Philadelphia, where the guy had the knife and he was shot by the police a bunch of times, and then overnight there was riots and 30 cops were injured,
That was
and
last-
one was a 65-year-old woman cop or something. She got ran over.
Why is a 65-year-old woman a cop? That's
She's
wild.
either like late 50s or like mid 60s, I forgot, but she was old and she got ran over, but 29 other cops got injured too.
All
And
I
there
can-
was some fires and looting.
The turnout in Pennsylvania is the lowest amongst all the early voting states. It's only 20%. And if you don't yank the race, if you don't play the race card now to try to get turnout, you don't get another chance. So you can't do it. You got to do it now. So that makes total sense to me.
Tim Spencer, can you hear us?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, wonderful. Hey, look at, I don't know what's going on with my camera, but we're going to figure that out. And this is my first time with StreamYard, and so I don't know what the heck I'm doing. But George, congratulations. I'm so glad to, I've been hanging with you a long time, and this is fantastic. And my first question to you is, why is China suing Tony?
Well, I think it's breach of contract. I mean,
Okay.
here's why I would, if I have to put myself in people's shoes, right? Why would I be running around China with Chairman Yi when Iran wants a deal? Okay. Iran's got some kind of technology, and we can't, it's just like Iran-Contra. We can't sell the small modular reactors directly to Iran so they can frack, the Persian Gulf. But we can do it with China, right? We can sell technology to China.
All right.
And China is an intermediary. And as Aaron said earlier, we know that, or maybe it was Paul Jarrell, that we know that Rosemont Seneca and Bohai Harvest did China, U.S. nuclear secrets to Chinese nuclear group. That's not in question. Again, there would be no reason for me to be involved in that, running around with Chairman Yi, unless I was passing this through to Iran to get the $150 billion for the Iran nuclear deal. Remember, that's the prize here. Follow the money. The $150 billion is what I want. Now, what does Iran want for that? They want a nuclear future. And that made the deal.
Well, I just saw the China,
Okay.
Sorry. Chairman Yi would have a BlackBerry,
Well, he would have Hunter Biden would be his communicator.
but would somebody administer a BlackBerry to these Chinese counterparts or no?
No, you can't give a classified BlackBerry to Chairman Yi.
So those-
You
so
have to
just-
have a body man, and their body man's got to be Hunter Biden. And we found that out with Bobulinski tonight. And we know it is where he gets upset where they're in Monaco and he doesn't show up for a meeting because he's with the chairman of a $323 billion company.
Yeah, and he
So
was on
Chairman
his
Yi
yacht,
is not
and he
on
was
his-
on the
He was
other
on a yacht.
and
We were all on yachts 12 miles offshore.
just so much yachting going on.
A lot of yachting.
Tough to make the meetings.
Yada.
This chairman here he's not a holder.
Yeah,
of an
Yi.
encrypted- Okay.
Well, I think it's important because there's communication going on with Chairman Yi, but put YE there. He is important because he has to have a proxy. You can't give him an encrypted BlackBerry.
I got another list.
So that's why you have-
Okay, Tim, do you have another question, Tim?
yes, I do. That lawsuit, was, according to what it's out on the web in a PDF that was filed in July of this year, which is interesting. That it's just coming on. But hey, going back to where we discussed way back in the very beginning, we were concentrating on Malta.
Yeah.
Okay, we were concentrating on remember Daphne Caruana Galizia.
Yep, Daphne.
Yes,
Lined up.
October 2017. Now, back then we were talking about Malta selling passports, and you only had to have an hour worth of residency to get a passport, and that this involved the LNG of Azerbaijan.
Well, if you remember correctly, the LNG port. Well, we know Hunter's involved in LNG ports by the phone
Yes.
call in
Yes.
China, but the other LNG port was off the coast of Cyprus. The
Yes.
Leviathan oil field that Papadopoulos was working the 5-country deal.
Yes.
was using originally an Egyptian LNG port for filling up the tanks, but then they built a new one in Cyprus. But the reason why the Daphne got killed in Malta was because she said, "Hey, we signed a 20-year deal for buying the gas from this thing, the LNG from this thing, at double the price, at double market prices."
Yes.
So they burned her to death. And the
Yes.
nice, yeah.
And this included the Polaris, or that Polaris bank in Malta that suddenly has just gone out of business, tied in with the Panama Papers, tied in with our friend Joseph Massoud, and tied in with Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah, Mifsud. Yes, you're right.
Everybody.
Yeah, yeah, and here we go again, because all these energy deals where you steal a whole bunch of energy at massive levels for billions of dollars, you then launder it and hang it on the next politician, the next unsuspecting politician. That's what. Yeah.
You got her. And then this Electrogas, which was part of that, who was it? The gas company out of SoCar Trading. Remember we talked about that years?
Yeah.
Well, evidently the guy that ran that just quit because they charged another guy there with murder for Daphne.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there was what Tim's referring to is Bijan Kian, a Flynn Intel Group, fixed a loan, a $6.3 billion loan from the IMF to build an oil refinery in the mouth of the Black Sea and the Bosporus Strait there in Turkey. And what Tim is saying is one of his business partners was convicted in the conspiracy to kill Daphne. So is there a connection there or not? We don't know. To sell the LNG. I thought that SoCar refinery was only for oil, but one of the byproducts of oil is the off gases, which is the natural gas. So
it's huge, George.
Yeah.
It's huge. The LNG coming out of there is huge. Anyways, the day before the trial of this so-called taxi driver this month, he was found dead. They said he suicided himself day before he was supposed to testify. But anyways, half the Malta government resigned over this. But the one kicker thing I just found out today was that in 2013, Joe's sister, along with congressmen and aides to Obama, were paid by SoCar to attend in Baku, Azerbaijan, a hosted a meeting about I think the Turquoise Council, where I think she had a BlackBerry, George. I'm not sure, but it looks like they were there doing some negotiation with this LNG. And then there was a Senate investigation, but I don't think they found too much wrongdoing. But that'd be Joe's sister, Valerie, and the Obama aides.
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice to have Rob Walker there? I think Rob Walker would be an interesting person if he was there at that Azerbaijan conference. Hey, guess what? We just had an invasion in Azerbaijan in that area.
Yes.
That's right where the LNG port is. Holy moly.
Well, I have to tell you that one thing.
It's safe. Hey, Tim, it's safe.
Yeah, as of the 29th, it's safe.
It's
Tim,
safe.
So,
You don't have to worry.
Sleep
Okay.
well at night.
Yeah,
All right.
it's safe. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna close with this, George. I'll tell you what. Following you, there's never been a dull moment. We've never finished a story without getting a new one, and then getting 10 of them. And then a couple years later, we go back to these stories and find out the same people have been involved in more stories. And it's just getting more and more fun, George. I hope we got a lot. I hope we nail some of these and then get some new ones.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Tim.
I agree with you, Tim.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
All right,
Thanks
good night,
for all your
guys.
support. And the magic bus. Thanks for the magic bus.
All right, do I push my button or does Addy shut me off?
Oh, I got you, Tim. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
We got some. We want
Thanks.
some trophies to hang above the fireplace. Do you guys know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We want some convictions.
A hearth.
We want some. I'll let you guys read into
We got certificates at least.
We can set them up.
Plaintiff
something that
plaintiff certificates.
Do you think the Department of State is just up all night tonight, just gathering all the information to release it, for the good people of the country? Or
Yeah, I think tonight's a good night for metadata. And speaking of that, I think we should wrap here at an hour. Go on with Shrimp Zoo.
Yeah.
But
the phone's ringing. I was
but
charging the phone.
but I got up early. I got up at 4. So
Question here from Connie Bevan: is it laundered? It was just the last conversation through Miss Mifsud's Link University in Rome in the UK.
Well, Link University is a spy school. Mifsud was from Malta. He basically brought all the kids to Malta. They also used different universities in Ireland and England when they were getting them ready to try to hone their English skills. So basically, they took the kids who had really poshy English and let them go Northern England. The Southern kids, Greek and Italian kids, worked the lower half of the Mediterranean, and that's just the name of that tune. His little educational thing was about 82 different countries all around the Mediterranean. That was his beat. That was Mifsud's beat. So
I've got something really wild and crazy that I just came to me. Guess what? We're the largest exporter of petroleum the United States is in the world now, right?
mhm.
Okay. They've been putting LNG ports down in Louisiana and Texas and the Sabine River by Houston and all that and gigantic ones down there. And then remember Trump, it kind of sounds like he was proposing, if you remember right, to have our LNG boats go to Germany and hook right up to the pipelines
Right.
and feed them from here.
Yep.
I mean, is that like running interference for this whole thing? You know what I mean? I mean, like 3
It's a
years
competitor.
ago.
Competitor.
3 years ago, he was
Yeah.
proposing this after he got in, and maybe he knows about this stuff. Who knows? I mean,
Right. Oh,
he might know.
absolutely.
Is Nord Stream
Absolutely.
2, is that oil and gas? Is it both or just petroleum?
I thought Nord Stream was gas,
Mhm.
for sure, but I think both Tom and Dave have it here. That this is why they hate Putin so much, because he is a potential supplier of gas to Europe, and so is our good friends now here at the CIA, Navy Intel / China, and Trump was quite rightly
Proposing that.
saying, "Hey, let's just
We'll send
put
it
all
your
the
way.
tankers. We'll fill them up. We'll sell."
We've got plenty. We're the world's leader.
And that is what's going on here. I think that's why
I'm just saying.
You can't think gas without Burisma too. I mean, it's just
Oh yeah,
like
of course.
it's just that it's their bread and butter.
So I need to power this up, and I'm going to put it on a fixed stand of some kind. Don't we have a fixed?
Isn't it powering or that's not charging?
No, it is powering. It is powering. I'll just
Oh,
hold
you
it though.
need a-
It's a little shaky.
Oh, you need you want another gimbal?
Yeah,
We've
just
got people who are trying to call. The phone didn't charge overnight,
Oh.
so they're calling over there, and I can't use the portable. We might have to wait till tomorrow for a call in, or if
Or-
you have
or
another-
go.
Other mechanism is great.
Yeah.
Anybody
Yeah,
trying to
I
call?
got Bob K's in the lobby. Bob, you have to connect a microphone if you want to talk. So connect
need
a
a-
mic, please, if you guys want to talk.
Oh, George is doing it.
No, I'm not. I'll hold it, but I'm done with the Burisma thing for tonight. I'm going to just celebrate the rest of the night with my coffee.
Yeah.
I'll answer questions, but I don't want to take time away from Shrimp Zoo.
Yeah, so we're here with Shrimp Zoo, George Webb, Detroit Dave, and Bob CIA. This is Addy Ads. Let me zoom out here. What are your thoughts, Shrimp? Do you have any questions for George Webb or Dave?
I want to ask George Webb what he thinks about. I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce this right, but Reza Zareb, the Azerbaijani Turkish gold trader that he was involved in the case taking down Michael Flynn apparently, and Turkey apparently seized all of his assets in Turkey after he testified with the government against them. But before that, he in Turkey was declared a national hero. Donald Trump tried to get him released, and then now there's nothing about him. Do you think he's a Turkish Azerbaijani or American spy or something? Or I don't know.
I covered him 3 years ago, and the only journalist that's doing any good work right now on Turkey is Sibel Edmonds, and Tim just called, and she's doing a great series called Turkey Gate right now, and the name isn't so great. It's the next Trump coup. I have a video out there. If Trump does win this or the general's coup, it's called.
Yeah.
Zareb. So here's the deal. Iran has a bunch of oil, but they're not allowed to trade it because they're sanctioned. So if you can come up with a loophole, now you can trade with Iran, and only you can trade with Iran. Because you and only you can trade with Iran, you can now say you can dictate prices to Iran. I'm the only one who can buy it, right? So I say I'm going to give you 80 cents on the dollar for your oil. So take the strike price of oil and I multiply it times 0.8, and that's what I'm going to pay you. Now I get that oil in a tanker, some country, Liberia or whatever, and then I ship it to a place where I've charged somebody a surplus, like Malta, let's say, and I've got a contract for 150%, or some other government which is going to pay an exorbitant price, and I make the spread. And that's what Mark Rich did, right? So you need somebody to work your loophole, and the loophole he came up with was gold for oil. And Zareb, the reason why he was getting these huge amounts of money and then changing it into gold is because he had to present the gold at the National Bank of Turkey in order to buy the oil. And it just so happens Erdogan's son owned the oil tankers that conveniently picked up all the oil and went to this new refinery that's been built by the IMF called the SOCAR reactor,
Star
refinery.
reactor, yeah.
Yeah, Star Company's reactor. When I say Star, I automatically. But whether it's being run by a small modular reactor or not doesn't really matter. I believe it is because Star Industry owns it. But however it's run, that's what it was. Gold for oil was the loophole. Gold for oil. You can look it up. Gold for oil. And Zareb was recast by Preet Bharara in the Southern District of New York as some whistleblower. And he wasn't. He was the key linchpin for this gold for oil loophole. So, and the only one who even is close to the story is Sibel Edmonds, and Sibel has complimented me on my coverage of additional coverage of her story, which is really super complimentary because she's one of the best. She's the best.
Also, I feel like that ties into the whole, Mike Flynn meeting with Woolsey and those guys talking about the kidnapping case and, were they trying to get Braverman? Were they trying to, who are these Egyptian pilots that Andy McCabe knows? Like, there's a lot of history with that. And then also I'm trying to think of what the bank was. They were trying to say there was illegal transactions going through the Trump Tower. There was some bank, and I cannot think
Alpha
of
Bank.
Alpha Bank.
Yep.
So yeah, all that stuff is, I feel like that is old, interesting history, tying back with, with the Turkey coup attempt and all that stuff to Jamal Khashoggi being killed in the embassy. So there is a lot of interest in Turkey. Then also with the move from Egypt to Turkey with sort of the I believe that's kind of where the Muslim Brotherhood kind of shifted locations there. So definitely a lot of intrigue with Turkey and those deals for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you have to basically get the Turks to agree to accept Muslim Brotherhood because you have to. I don't want to say Warren Buffett. I want to pick on Warren Buffett, but like Les Wexner, whatnot. You need to have a bad guy. If you want to get money from the IMF, you need to have a bad guy do some bad things, and then the good guys come and they get billions from the Congress, right? So
Turkey's already aligned with the Muslim Brotherhood. I think they have been for.
But at least
a decade probably.
Agreed. But what I'm saying is the headquarters moved from Egypt from Arab Spring to Ankara, and they're at the airport on the 6th floor of the hotel in Turkey. It's like, again, Sibel Edmonds is the only one to cover this.
Drama camps where people practice being the good guys and the bad guys and take turns is a thing we've been studying lately, right? So pretending to be the bad guy is nothing these people are.
They're good at it.
Yeah, I mean,
That was a great question, Shrimp Zoo.
It was a great question. I feel like that was
you get a gold bar for that one.
Going down memory lane right there.
Yeah,
the gold for oil scam.
Nobody's asked me about Zarab in a long time.
And then the thing is, too, now I'm thinking back 6-7 months ago now to chaos in Venezuela, if you remember right, that was going on down there a few months back. Guess what that deal was? That was a gold. We can't get our equipment up and running. The Chinese said, well, you guys owe us a lot of money anyway. We'll send our people down there. And they sent ships over, if you remember correctly, over to Venezuela, I think full of distillate already. And then they kind of dared our Navy to, are you guys going to intervene or not? Get in the way of this deal. And we were already, the CIA was already there messing around down in Venezuela anyway. So the deal was, the way I understand it, was yes, we'll send our stuff down there, get your equipment up and going, But the gold bars, and there was a bunch. I don't remember how much, but they flew a lot of this equipment in, and the guys that were the workers to get it going because they can't pay their workers. So the
Right.
Chinese say, hey,
Let,
and the gold bars then went back that way when they dropped off the people.
let me get right back to the gold for oil in Venezuela in a second. We got a new person dialing in. Who is that, Addie?
Looks like we got Bob K down under. I don't know if we got you there, Bob.
Are you there, Bob?
Yeah. Well, we'll bring him back in once he
repositioned, but
once he gets situated, Bob K will get you back in.
He's actually down under in Australia.
Yeah, there he is. He's coming back. Click on him there.
There he is.
There's Bob K.
Awesome technology advancements.
G'day down under.
Yeah, we got to hit the mic here.
Oh, there we go.
The camera
Let me turn on your mic here, Bob. Give me a sec.
What's that?
Hey, Bob.
Mike.
Hey, how you doing, Bob?
I'm going well, thanks, George.
Well, you're in Melbourne.
Yeah, in Melbourne area, a couple of hours east of Melbourne, actually, in the country.
All right.
All right.
Sounds like you're in Wangaratta.
No, south of Wangaratta. Yeah, southeast of Wangaratta by a long shot.
And Bob, turn down your volume speaker.
Sorry.
Otherwise, feedback,
How
please.
does that sound?
Much better. Thank
Okay. Now I can't hear you guys.
Yeah. Okay. Turn it up a little.
Yeah, you can turn it up a bit or put a head.
How's that?
You could put.
Yeah.
Okay, he's gonna.
There you go.
There we go. So we're live here with George Webb. This is Late Night with Addie and George Webb.
Yeah, it's midday.
Underdown, and we're letting Bob get situated here as he gets his earpieces in, so there's no feedback. Shrimp Zoo has joined us as well, live from Buffalo, New York. I just spent about 4 weeks with Shrimp Zoo getting our podcast off of the ground, and we're gonna see more of Shrimp Zoo this week on my channel. But it looks like Bob is situated. If we're gonna bring him back in, Bob is from Australia, just outside Melbourne.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. Do you have a question, Bob?
I've been following you guys you, George, since about 2017. And at that time, I was pretty enthusiastic and everything and kept it up for about 2 years, transcribing or copying your video transcription up to from day 53 to about day 217.
Yeah.
And I just wondered if anybody would be interested to have perhaps that transcription as 2 pages, about 300 something pages each on a Word document.
Bob, you need to get in touch with Connie Bevan. Connie Bevan is one of George's subscribers.
Well, send it to Neighborhood News Hour too right now.
Yeah, you can do that.
So it's Neighborhood News Hour Bedford, and a couple of other people. You can send it to me too.
You can send it to me as well, Bob. It's just addyads@pm.me. That's addyads@pm.me. addyads@pm.me. If you want to send me the transcript as well, that's my encrypted email. It's open.
Eddie adds at P for Peter and M for Mother .me, is it? I'll send it to you, Eddie, so I don't get confused. But Connie Bevans, way back then, communicated with each other there for a little while, copying getting the transcriptions, the full audio transcriptions of all those videos. And after about day 217, it got a bit too much. And I sort of let it go for a while and then come back a few months later. And it's still as topical as it was 4 years ago. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think the number one thing for me, Bob, was the transcription of the night of May 25th or 26th, 2017. Because if you remember, I right as I'm supposed to be, so, after we've had all this wine with this guy, I still say that the Senate is coming, the House went off the Blackberries last year, the Senate's coming off them right now. And that would be the perfect time to switch over to the Apple iPhone. And if you remember, Imran Awan bought about 250 iPhones in the spring of 2016, right before the big DNC hack. And he was switching everyone over to Apple iPhones on the house side. So it would make perfect sense now that the operation was done, after now they got the Iran deal. Now let's throw these things over to the Senate side and implicate them in all these crimes.
All right. I'm just looking at my Word document. I've got day 53 to day 193, and that goes from 15 December 2016 to 4th of May 2017. George, is that just a bit too early for you?
It would.
Hang on.
The next one, which would be about May 26th or 27th, when I'm standing there in front of Jason.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Read the transcript.
Hang on.
Nice.
You gonna read it right now?
Yeah. What?
You gonna try it now?
I've definitely got day 199, which is a few days after the one I just mentioned, to about day 217. Hang on, let me get it. I have got a question for George.
Sure.
You have to turn
Considering
that on once it's balanced. Yeah. Go ahead, Bob.
considering the mystery with COVID and all that bloody jazz, how do you reckon the virus got transmitted so fast across the world? That really gets me. Right?
Well,
I just
hold
go
on.
Sorry.
Photon torpedoes.
Photon torpedo just hit our
You
station.
a Star Trek fan there down under, or you guys don't do the Star
Okay.
Trek over
Now
there?
it's good. Okay.
All right, we got them.
So sorry, Bob. So it's a little bit crooked. We'll re-establish that in a second. It won't. That's okay. I'll get it. There you go. So what was the question again? Sorry, that's good.
I'll just go back to the document for a minute. I've got 11th of May 2017 till for about 17 days after that. So
Go to
that'll
May
probably
25th or 26th. They do it one
okay.
time.
So we're live. This is Addy Ads, Anakin Skywalker, YouTube's chosen one, live here at the Neighborhood News Hour, Swing State Studios. Aaron Adler, George Webb, Addy Edge, Detroit Dave, Underdown, and Tom CIA, joined by an Australian guest, Mr. Aussie himself, Bob K. Down Under.
And all of you
Bob
lovely
down
people.
under. George, can you give me a bit of a hint as to that date again?
Sure.
Because I've only got day 217, day 202.
May 26th. Here we are in front of the Arlington County Jail. Blah blah blah. Here, blackberries. Talking about the blackberries a lot. I think it was a crazy day because I was in front of Kiselyak's residence. I was, going to where I thought Butina was with the Cronus lures. I was all over the place. I was heading out to, oh geez, I can't even remember what I was doing. So read one of the days. And I'll tell you if you're close. Yeah,
all right. At the top, I just put it in there, 11th of May 2017. After that, it just becomes day 200, day 201. So forth.
So go about day 217.
All right.
Questions for George or one of the panel here, one of the Jedi Council, please put that in the chat. Otherwise, Entropy chat is open as well. If anybody wants to make a donation, GoFundMe, PayPal as well are open, and our class action lawsuit GoFundMe as well. I will actually add that to my description boxes either later tonight or tomorrow morning. But regardless, that can be found on George Webb's Twitter.
And I guarantee you the first $450 will go to the filing fee. So we're up to $140 right now. We just started it this morning. So
$450 filing fee. That's our first expense to attack the empire.
Correct.
That is Google.
And
Okay.
I'll whatever we get and just do it quickly.
Okay,
So
George.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'm on day 217.1.
Okay. Yeah, read that one.
This is how you start. Okay, day 217, July 7th. I think it's going to be a very important day. Your words, George. July 7th, there's a lot going on. This is 2 days after Comey says Hillary was reckless. Keep going. Next day or next point?
We'll read a little bit more. We were beyond the BlackBerry night, but that's okay. Keep going.
That's the bottom of the second document I've got, right, which finishes on 217. Now, this is day 2. On July 17th, of course, is Joe Capone's visit to the White House. A couple of things that happened on this score. Russian intelligence agency, Now we know Seth Rich may be involved in the DNC leaks when Guccifer also said he's involved with the Democratic Caucus leak. I'll go to 217.2 just for a minute. Hillary leakers and hackers, YouTube. Okay, it's day 217, part 2. I just wanted to equate everybody with this company's NG Ryan or Pine or something. I believe this is a company that Seth Rich used. You would be, we'll go to point 217.3. Okay, this is part 3. Here's Amy Dacey, 17th of November 2015, since the CEO, And then you mention some irregularities between Sanders' campaign and the Clinton campaign. You can go out and read this. Basically, she assures us that at no time were any of the financial information, no information about who the super volunteers were lost, no fanatical information.
Yeah, and all this information, and Bob, I'll press pause here. All this great documentation for me to reestablish kind of the diary of every day today. There's so much stuff, and I can't wait. It's gold. Please send it. I will. I'm going to be redoing the books and now that I was going to give the books away on audio, but now they took away our channel, so we can't do members anymore. So I have to rewrite the books based on this, recovering this diary type information. So I appreciate it. But do you have a question out of all this? What's the one burning thing or comment from all your work?
Well, I was wondering how quickly this virus actually could spread. If it's not contagious, arguably, if a virus or the virus is not contagious, how did it bloody spread so fast across the whole of the bloody world, supposedly?
Well, you know my theory on that, but I'll repeat it for those who don't know it. There was a super spreader cult in Korea. They have a signature of spreading from Korea in the year of 2017 to about 30 different countries, every continent. Everywhere they went, they spread it. So again, this is just pins on a map. This is epidemiology 101. You put the pins on a map and you follow the cult, Shin Chen on Chi. You look into it and say, well, is that a reasonable assumption? And you say, well, they're forced to share food. When people are sick, they're forced to still pray together. They actually have cards, check-in cards, time cards to absolutely mandatorily pray there. They have armed guards making sure that they pray cheek by jowl and eat the food. They must share food. So it's a super spreader cult. The other thing, it's about 16 steps, maybe 17 steps from the Moonies, who also were used as a super spreader cult. And they trace back in terms of the people that are their leaders to the Unit 731 bioweapons program. So if it looks like a bioweapons program, walks like a bioweapons program, eats like a bioweapons program, prays like a bioweapons program, travels like a bioweapons program, it just might be a bioweapons program. And I think Shin Chen on Chi and then this Harry Harris, who seems to be making all these backdoor deals behind the president of the United States back with our governors here in Maryland and other places. It seems like a cover-up. It seems like, hey, we collect 500 PCR kits from all these different countries and all these super spreaders. Now we bring it back to Korea. What do we do with it now? How do we get it to Johns Hopkins? Hey, I got an idea. Let's do a backdoor deal where we fly from the first time ever, we fly a cargo plane from Incheon, your airport, for the first time ever, And we fly it behind the president's back.
Maryland governor touts his purchase of tests from South Korea. Emails show a U.S. company offered tests at lower price.
And guess what? Harry Harris, our ambassador, is the guy who negotiates the deal. Again, diplomatic immunity. And he turns out the cousin of Peter Strzok. Oh, that's nice.
Amazing.
And also, you also have to mention Governor Larry Hogan's wife is South Korean, and I believe has ties to the Moonies, maybe too.
Oh no, she has ties to the Shincheonji, and the guy who died, the guy who was the president of Korea who died, was also associated with that Shincheonji cult. Can't remember his name.
So would you say the most, to me, the most, when people say, how do we get this virus? How does it spread? Or how do you actually get it if you don't, arguably, get it from coughing on each other, from touching each other, like a la the Andrew Kaufman sort of idea? To me, it's something that we breathe in for sure, you know, or have it physically injected into your bloody blood. Seem to be the only two-way where you can get a virus. What do you think?
Well, the cult that was established by Shincheonji in Wuhan went into the brothels in these various countries. And what they would do is they would take the girls out and say, hey, we want to save you. We're going to give you a place to stay. We're going to have you pray with us. And then they would get the girls infected by sharing food with them. Then they would have the girls go back into their neighborhoods and practice their trade. And what was happening with this super cult? The NATO games, all the men coming in for the NATO games. And here was this group of super spreader prostitutes that were in Wuhan. No, hey, it's that.
I'm not laughing at you. It's just.
Well, hey, I'm saying
that's the first time I've ever heard that term.
Super spreader? You don't think that?
No, the other bit added to it. Yeah, the bit added to it.
31 was the original super spreader. They had the data on her, like literally, like within a second.
I'm saying that their tag and trace, John Hopkins tag and trace shrimp zoo, not mine. Their thing, patient 31, it was the one who was taking them back and forth to the airport to Wuhan. She's the one who infected 1,000 people by their tag and trace.
Yeah, okay. I know. I've seen like a few maps where they tried to trace down patient zero. Nobody traces in the mainstream media. Nobody has traced down patient zero.
They know who patient zero is. They're just suppressing it. They're trying to make it look like that the Korea outbreak has nothing to do with patient 31 was 1,000 people, but they infected these prostitutes in the Olympic Village. I mean, that's just all there's to it. They also opened the Olympic Village 2 weeks before the Olympics, and that's never happened before. And who was in charge of security? NATO.
And you know what happens at the Olympic Village? The athletes sleep with each other.
That's correct.
They always
hang out. And stuff,
every single Olympics, they always give a report on how many condoms are burned through in the Olympic Village, and it's just
enormous amount.
Just all these top athletes, just getting attention out. It's always been marketed as part of the deal.
Fauci says you can't get. And remember, just remember, in this same thing, all these athletes are coming down sick. The French team's coming down sick. The Italian team, I don't want to say that name, but all these teams are coming down sick. Why? Because remember, if one of them gets it and then they gets inside the Olympic Village, now there's
it's a free for all in the village. I mean, don't ask, don't tell in the village.
I mean, that obviously the Americans weren't worried about real gold medals. They were trying to get gold medals in some other thing, but the Americans finished like 39th out of 72 teams, 39th.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Oh, wait, I got you. Say that again there, Bob.
I said pretty pathetic record for the Americans in an Olympic type.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. I got one more question. George, one more quick one. Sure. People say, I've got one more quick question. The question might be quick, but the bloody answer might be super long, People love to say, quick question for you, mate. Yeah, well, it could be a quick question, but the answer could be 2 hours long. They think by saying quick question, it's going to have a quick answer, but that's not necessarily so. One thing I like to see bloody put a stop to is this diplomatic immunity. What a friggin' farce. Talking about immunity of our bodies and everything else, you get this bloody diplomat who've got immunity. How did that ever come about, and how does it bloody persist to this day? Unbelievable.
Well, it started out, I was told this by a French gal who was married to a diplomat and supposedly had some intelligence connections with a small Middle Eastern country. But anyway, they started out with diplomatic pouches because you have to have couriers if you're negotiating a secret treaty between this country and that country. You don't want every border guard, blowing the thing. But what she had told me was that they had moved from the diplomatic pouch, which was a little like canister thing that you would hold papers into, to this gigantic duffel bag. Literally, you can't even fit it inside a helicopter. And then they had extended it to because people move their cars back and forth, they had said the whole container could be a diplomatic container. And then, so it was obviously being used for weapons. And then I was told by a couple of people, not confirmed, but you could actually have the whole ship be a diplomatic container, or a whole plane be a diplomatic container.
Ship.
And in Silkway Airlines, Dilyana confirmed that these planes that were flying these weapons, the whole plane was diplomatic immunity. So there you go.
Can I ask a question of Bob here?
Sure.
Yes, Aaron, is it?
They can be there. We're good. Either way. So this is in no way an endorsement of other people's work or anything. I just had a question because a lot of people in our chat have another individual that they've been watching who's from Australia named Brendan O'Connell. I was wondering if you are familiar with Mr. O'Connell, Brendan O'Connell. He's an Australian guy. I think he got run out of Australia, to be honest. If you're not familiar with him, then whatever. I just seen his name
I haven't.
often.
No, can't help you, Aaron.
You know who he is? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but he's an Australian guy.
I follow Crow's Nest a little bit with Max Egan. He usually is a bit off the top. And on the fringes
You're going to have to be our contact in Australia for the Osprey Network.
Can we go to Doug Band to get some dip passports, though, if we need them? I feel like he was the king.
Well, I will say something about Max Egan. That was probably my first really big interview. And, he's an amazing man. I'm not all bought into everything Max says, but he is a man of tremendous courage. And when he got beaten or clubbed or whatever it was, to be put in the hospital, and he was protesting for someone who was put in jail, like a Julian Assange type of thing. I can't remember exactly the circumstances, but after he got out of the hospital, he went straight back to that same corner and continued protesting. So that's Max Egan for you, and I never forgot that story. Yeah,
where's he at today?
He's Crow's Nest. He has.
Oh, that is Crow's
channel.
Nest. Okay, wow. Yeah, we got to check that out.
Yeah, good man.
Yeah, he's still there. Okay, chaps. Nice to talk to you, and I'll keep. Are you? How long you got to go tonight? Another.
Aaron's trying to ply me with more coffee, so to keep me awake.
I thought we were going to do an hour, but we're already in. It's a pretty exciting night.
This is a landmark night where we got the the confirmation of Hunter Biden with the BlackBerry. So we're all kind of celebrating right now.
Before we let you go, what do you think of our election? Did we already ask him that and I missed it?
No.
You got a vote over here? You want to vote? They're letting everybody vote.
Yeah, no. Trump will win by a landslide, as we would say in Australia. I'm sure of it.
I hope you're right, Bob. And I got to say, too, if you do send that email, I'd love to have you on sometime this week for a citizen journalist chat, because I have no contacts in Australia. I have contacts in England and Canada and the U.S., but I have no one in Australia. So I'm guessing my audience, and I certainly would love to know your whole experience with this whole year, this whole 2020. So if you want to do that at some point, maybe later this week, please send me that email, Bob, and I'll get you on the show.
Yeah, we could do that. I've done that before a little bit. I'm not the greatest of journalists. I just follow it on the internet, but I've been looking into all these things, how everything is fitting together and doesn't make sense for most people. wife still wears the mask, and I can't bloody stop her. I see you still wearing one, swimsuit. That's quite your right. She reckons she wants to keep using it when this is all over. And by the way, in Victoria here, we are just about free of coronavirus cases. We're down to 0, so we look like coming back largely off the lockdown that we've had for the past 6 months or so. Absolutely ridiculous, but yeah, I'd look forward to having a chat with you, Eddie. It'd be great.
Definitely, Bob. Well, thanks for coming on tonight, and we appreciate the questions.
Pleasure being here and meeting you guys in some way or other. And I also mentioned that Mr. Zoom, as we're talking about Mr. Zoom, a couple of days ago, Kate Hampstead, I think, was asking, "Oh, George, why don't you come on to my Zoom? I can let you in this and I can let you do this." And I'm thinking, who's this? I've been on Zoom myself, and watched it going around during this pandemic thing. And I was always wondering, this Zoom, now we got another one. First we had Skype, and then I was taken over by Gates, and now we got Zoom. I thought, who is this Zoom? So I looked into it, and I found this guy's, what was it, 12 or 13 billion dollars worth and all this. And I asked Kate, who was suggesting George get us onto Zoom with her being in charge or whatever. And I'm thinking, well, who's sort of benefiting from all this? There's always a middleman that wants to take off with the goodies, And geez, this guy's worth a fortune. And like George usually asks the question, as I do, where did they make all their money? And he must be laughing all the way to, where, for the last 6-7 months. Everybody's on Zoom, all the government organisations are teleconferencing via Zoom. And, I thought, nah, I don't like this Zoom idea.
Not only is Eric Yuan the head of Zoom, like you said, with sort of a Chinese intelligence background, but also I think Jamie Pelosi, none other than Jamie Pelosi, is on the board of Zoom.
She's not the management team. She's the chief marketing officer.
She's chief marketing officer.
CMO.
So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, the blackberries don't fall far from the bush.
Now, is she married to Paul or sister?
I don't know. Jamie Pelosi, it'd be interesting to see.
That's her daughter.
Maybe.
I don't know. I just pulled up the Zoom management team, and there was a Pelosi on there. So I don't know.
Maybe she needs another Hunter Biden BlackBerry there. Put a Hunter's BlackBerry there. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
Patrick,
Paul,
announcement at 11 a.m.
What's that?
FISA announcement. Okay.
Patrick Ho FISA announcement at 11 a.m. says Matthew.
But wasn't there a mystery about who all had the FISAs besides Carter Page and George Papadopoulos? Was there a little mystery about other FISAs issued? Because somebody said on the chat that Patrick Ho has an active FISA warrant on him going now. So I don't know.
What was about tomorrow with that Patrick Ho's FISA?
Just says Patrick Ho FISA announcement at 11 a.m.
And then people were saying earlier that there was something with.
All right, Bob. Thank you very much, sir.
That's quite all right. Eddie, have a look at those. Remember you had Paul Cottrell on earlier about prophecies. Read a couple of the prophecies that I put on new YouTube to you. Also about Trump, that he's going to win the election. He won't be president in 2021.
Wow.
Will he be betrayed? Will he be betrayed by his cabinet, or whatever you call it, in Congress next year? Answer, yes. Will he be president in March? Yes. Will he be president in April, May, June? Yes. Will he be president in July? Yes. Will he be president in August? No. Will he be killed next year, or will he be assassinated because he won't be president? Oh, okay, will he be president in August? No. Will he be killed? No. Will he die of natural causes? Yes. Will he die of a heart attack? Yes. And that's just my wife's that's just a little, prophecy that sort of corresponded a little bit with. I don't want to spread bad news, but the prophecy was he'll be president, he'll win in a landslide, but he won't be president at the end of the year next year. So
We'll check that out, Bob. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you.
Okay, mate. See you later. Bye.
So we're live here, folks. This is Addy Ads. I'm here with Aaron Adler. Aaron's gonna take us over to the Encrypted Players Guild.
I'm so nervous about touching George's device and phone because I screw it up when I touch it. But here we are, people. The Bannon. What do we got here? The Bannon BlackBerry Players Guild. We need you in the chat to try to guess the names of other individuals who could be encrypted BlackBerry holders.
Who's on there
in
so far?
in the Bobulinsi network. I would hesitate to think that there's no way Bobulinsi is the leader of this network. He is just another one of the holders, right, Dave? We think. I mean,
he is, but just
this
looking
another-
at the board of directors of Zoom, we've got Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster is on the board of
Oh, so
directors of Zoom.
McMaster's got a BlackBerry in this mix.
And
we
he
think,
was
huh?
he was a senior fellow at the Hoover Institute.
Wow.
I don't know if that was where Bettina got her Tai Chi award. Was it Hoover Institute? I think it was.
I think that was American University, wasn't
No, it was Gettysburg. I think it was Hoover
it?
Institute at.
Isn't Hoover Institute at Stanford? I thought that.
That's right. No,
Eisenhower.
Eisenhower. I'm sorry. Yeah, I get my
So,
Tai Chi awards.
George, we'll do rapid fire here. I'm going to say the name, and you tell me, yes, he is in the Steve Bannon Encrypted Blackberries Players Guild. Maybe he's in the Steve Bannon Encrypted Blackberries Players Guild. Or no, he or she, we don't have any she's on the board. He or she is not in the Steve Bannon Encrypted Blackberries Players Guild.
Okay.
Can we do this game? What do you think?
Before we do that, I just somebody asked Kevin. No, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Kevin asked about memberships earlier. I want to see if I can find the comment.
We have not touched any of the money from before. No.
Have you gotten
saw
any of the
any of
money, Aaron?
No.
Have
Zero.
you seen any of the money?
Zero.
Okay, so should they go and
They
get?
should try to get their own refunds. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, at this point, I have no way to even contact them.
Okay,
Yeah, you can't even use the product.
You can't get your money back once you gave it.
okay.
That's what I read.
I have. I mean, they,
Kevin-
Then you're all in the lawsuit.
Kevin
I guess
said
so.
that he could request a refund, and then Eket said maybe mine said that too.
Yeah, definitely request a refund. If they don't give it to you, guess what? You have standing in the lawsuit.
Yeah. Okay. So we got that settled. Now Aaron's gonna take us on
Okay.
a little trip here.
Was Tony Bobulinsi holding an encrypted BlackBerry?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We got to check on that. Was Hunter Biden holding an encrypted BlackBerry?
We all saw it on national TV.
Yes. Okay. Devin Archer. Do we think that's a
Yes.
yes? You're 99% on that.
Yeah, because
You're
he's the
100%
bag
right.
man. He's the bag man for John Kerry. And also Jonathan Weiner. He will also work for Jonathan Weiner at APCO, another bag man.
Connor Bevan holding an encrypted BlackBerry or no BlackBerry for Connor?
I gotta believe he had one. He's
Okay.
running all over Toledo buying up property. We filmed the day we lost our channel was the day we filmed the pipeline going into the Maumee.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
Do
agree.
you mean Bevan Cooney? Is that what you
Bevan
mean?
Cooney.
What did I? Oh,
You put Connor. Yeah.
Okay.
Bevan Cooney.
too many names. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's a bit-
But he's running, and
Bevan.
it runs the right of way for the thing runs
Good.
down the old train line, the old Rockefeller train line.
Now it gets a
The-
little
the
tough.
pipeline.
So we think Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely on that, huh?
No question. He was a UCOM guy that went to AFRICOM. No question. about
So Pete Buttigieg and Tony Bobulinsi know each other.
that. Absolutely.
You think they've had lunch or
They
cooked beans
they've
down
been
at the
over
fire?
there.
At
They've
the,
been over
at the
there
base?
at the airlift center.
Well, yeah.
Airlift
They could've-
at NATO shit.
Could have been studying cave art together. It's possible.
They ran this operation out of Malta.
Would Pete Buttigieg bring a salad over to sit near Tony Bobulinsi in the mess hall or something? You know, and, not a good joke. I'm sorry.
No.
No.
Anyway, the Heinz kid,
No
encrypted
question.
BlackBerry,
No
absolutely.
And see the thing
And
is,
these guys are talking to
have
each
you ever
other.
noticed? Have you ever noticed something? How all these people could say that they were switching over from the BlackBerry to the Apple, so they could have given their BlackBerry to someone else for a limited period of time. You see how all these people were involved in the Iran nuclear negotiations? All of them.
We
All
need the
of them.
Heinz first name. I don't know.
Chris.
We don't-
Chris Heinz.
Chris. Nice. So we've got Rob Walker.
Yeah.
Now we think this
we-
guy Walker's like the boss of this network
No,
now?
Yeah.
Just another player.
No, he's a communications guy.
So, but he has an encrypted BlackBerry, talking to Tony,
But what
talking to Hunter,
what you
talking to
do,
Devin.
the number one rule of espionage, right, is you don't make any direct communications to anybody. You always go through a proxy. You whisper in somebody's ear, and that somebody goes clackety clackety clack. Okay.
But these guys are the proxies for. I mean, they
yeah.
communicate.
Yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
And they've each got a Chinese guy they're handling.
Devin Archer is the proxy for Carrie, right?
Yep.
Heinz is also a proxy,
And they were also roommates. They were
okay.
roommates at Yale together. Also, Devin Archer and Chris Hines go back, and Chris Hines is, of course, the stepson of John Kerry.
You're saying like a senator, or a congressperson.
yeah, who has a right to be carrying a classified.
Right.
It'd be interesting to see if Hunter was in law school at Yale at the same time as all those guys too.
And it could be that these guys are like all just throwing their kids out of the bus because they were the actual ones. The senators were actually making these trips and they don't want it to be publicized. So they said, "Oh, my kid had it and was using it."
Yeah, it's
I
tough to
don't-
be Secretary of State and have be the one doing the deal. You might want to have your stepson, kind of fill that void.
So this Gilliar guy is the main guy now.
No, he's one of the guys.
Just
He's another Navy intel guy that was running around. The thing is, when you move this equipment around, okay, when you airlift shit, it's classified. You have to have the code, the op codes. If you don't have the op code to send, the plane don't move.
These are all young men. Bobulinski's, 40, under 40, right? Like Hunter, Devin, Bevan Cooney, Pete Buttigieg.
They're
Chris
proxies.
Hines.
They're proxies for their dads.
But they're all, I mean, we haven't come to an over 50 person yet, have we?
No.
think so.
These are all young guys, right? So Gilliar is older, right? He's an older guy? No?
Born in 1970, I think.
Okay, and then we've got the Bulger nephew, another young guy.
He's a front man for the Patriarch.
There's your
Crime
old
Gang.
guy, right?
No, Billy, the son, is only like 40, 30.
This is the nephew. Right?
He's the nephew, but his father was in politics and then was running the UMass school system later. So Whitey, the gangster, was his uncle, and his dad was the straight arrow of the family.
The politician, right?
The one that could never.
We're recasting Billy Bulger tonight.
Yeah, Billy Bulger, who had to put a payphone in his backyard in order to call his gangster brother that was Bob Mueller's, informant for how many years in Boston. It's
20 years. He said he made the
20
phone
years.
call.
And how
he
many?
had to go to the backyard.
And how many hits?
Payphone.
How many hits before the Bob Mueller arrangement, and how many after?
I can't remember. There's like 75 murders unsolved during the time Bob Mueller is running the the homicide unit up there for the FBI. Like 70. There's Whitey Bulger alone kills like 30.
So we've got Tony Bobulinski, Hunter Biden, Devin Archer, Bevan Cooney, Pete Buttigieg, Chris Hines, Rob Walker, this Gilliar, and Bulger. None of them are in charge. All 9 of these guys have encrypted BlackBerries talking to each other, but none of them are the managers of this network. They're all just proxies for a larger manager.
Teneo. The guy who's in charge is Teneo. I mean, the BlackBerries come from Teneo. And Teneo,
But who's in charge of Teneo?
Les Wexner, Mega Group, Jeff Epstein's his proxy.
Anthony Weiner, Huma.
Yeah,
that crew.
But who's sending like the morning message? Good morning, team. It's October whatever. We're doing Kazakhstan today. We've got yellow cake to get from Buzmemanov over here. And by tomorrow, we've got to be over here to get this. I mean, Les Wexner's not sending those messages.
Who's doing the
clackety,
who's
clack,
doing
cackle?
Who's doing
clackety,
the energy
clack.
deals?
Yeah.
Who does the energy deals?
Whoa. Before that, it's Hillary Clinton. Cackleberry, right?
You think these guys are getting like a morning instructional encrypted message from Hillary?
No. Podesta's an intermediary.
Okay, so
Huma's an intermediary. Hillary's not going to say, okay, we have a plan for Tripoli. General Grady has a plan for Tripoli. Oops. As a matter of fact, she did say that to General Petraeus. Oops, we have a plan for Tripoli. That to me sounds like we have a plan for Tripoli, right? That means we're going to invade Tripoli. And General Petraeus traded 100 emails via the BlackBerry, and he ran CENTCOM, the people who can make the planes fly. Okay, that's where the answer is going to be. I said it 4 years ago. It's where the answer is going to be.
I think you got to throw some World Bank in there too. I feel like Stanley Fischer could be somebody that would be,
for laundering the money,
constructing these deals.
for
So
laundering money.
let me play this out, or let's just add, like I'm Tony Bobulinsi, right? I'm a proxy for Joe Biden, correct? And we've established here as you're identifying proxies, he's a Joe
I
Biden
wouldn't say
proxy.
he's a
Then?
proxy for no. I'd say he's a proxy for somebody like a general.
Okay.
Somebody who can move weapons.
So he's a higher up proxy than a hunter. Absolutely,
Yeah.
he's a higher on the totem pole.
Petraeus usually comes back to Petraeus and Kissinger.
So I'm Tony Bobulinsi. I'm in Kazakhstan this morning, and I'm waking up to look at my BlackBerry and my encrypted messages. And
No,
this-
that Carter Page is the guy in Libya waiting for the shipment, in Tobruk or in Tunisia. Like he's back in Luxembourg going, here's the opcode, guys, because there's a C-130 pilot sitting on the runway going. Brum, brum, brum,
So
brum,
Bobulinski's in Luxembourg. He's sending a message to Kazakhstan.
here's the
He's sending
opcode.
a message
Bleep,
to
bleep, bleep, bleep.
Uzbekistan. He's okay. Wow.
And nothing happens. You can't fly the plane literally until the opcode comes into the plane and everybody goes go, right? Because if it could be that easy to hack, if you didn't have opcodes, you can have the enemy sending these codes and having your planes fly all over hell.
So Bobulinski's sending hundreds of encrypted messages daily.
No, I'd say how many
dozen?
how many C-130s was Libya?
Okay.
100. 100. So I need one opcode for each C-130, right? And I guess what? I make sure I go back to that same plane yard with Hunter Biden later on and James Biden. I get photographed there. Remember how upset he was? He couldn't film them all in Monaco because they want to film their hand in the cookie jar. This is Lee Harvey Oswald
right.
in front of the trademark. Oh, here's fair play for Cuba. See, he's the Cuban agent. He's a Russian agent, right? So that's what's going on. And if you retrace the steps of every place that Bobulinsi filmed these guys to show their hand in the cookie jar, wind the clock back 6 years or less, and it'll be some same operation Bobulinsi did there by himself.
I have this feeling he's with Buttigieg. I'll bet they're buddies, man. I feel like they're on the same level. Like Buttigieg seemed like a very high level operative in the Horn of Africa. Like for Petraeus. Like
Buttigieg's the nasty stuff. That's going to be the bios.
And I think it seems like Bobulinski's on his level. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
When I got the Ken Hale death threats is when we hit Buttigieg. That's what NATO act in Norfolk. That's when we got the death threats. So that's how I figured. I'm just going on metadata.
Sure. I feel like
how many times does somebody say you're going to kill your family? Not very often for most people. And it was only when I started talking about Buttigieg.
Well, Dark Winter's coming.
And wasn't Gottner in AFRICOM also? I feel like he was.
I think he was. Yeah,
I feel
Gottner
like there was
in
a picture of him doing some training at AFRICOM.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
This is really bad for somebody like a Ken Hale, right? If you're running these kind of ops, and let's say, for instance, you moved weapons out of Camp Lemonnier and you borrowed them over through Sudan and you had people take them over to Libya, and you were somehow a provider of these weapons, right? Yeah. That's a bad thing if somebody figures out your op, because you're supposed to have top security. Just the same way, if you're NATO security running these ops with your Blackberries and your name's Giuseppe Benassi, you also have a problem if somebody figures out your op. I'm not saying they ran the op. I'm not saying they pushed the weapons in that direction, but I know this deal was run out of AFRICOM.
Now, Bannon isn't involved in communicating with these people. Like later on, a general comes to Bannon and says, hey, Bannon, write us a story. Here's some guys. Like,
let's explain how the computer guy isn't smart enough to take the 3 laptops with the Bo Biden sticker on them and go, hey, I know where the Bidens live. I've lived here for 40 years. I know exactly where they live. I'll drive these over to them. No, I'm going to leak them to Steve Bannon instead. Does that sound like Bannon made up a cover story? And Bannon keeps changing the story every day? He keeps changing the story every day.
All the trouble that Tracy Connors had with you doctoring your documentary is nothing compared to what Bannon and his team must deal with, right? They must be sitting there and they're like, come on, Steve, you want us to try to put that over on the people? And then he's, well, I don't know. You're right. How can we,
Has this guy been interviewed, this guy, the computer repairman? Has he been interviewed?
I don't even know what he looks like.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. And now he's
Where'd he come
partially
from?
blind. So that's why he couldn't drive over. I mean, I don't even know.
I haven't heard.
Steve Bannon needs to hire Tracy Connors to get his scripts doctored, if you ask me. I mean,
Script
okay.
doctor, script doctor.
And if people want to see my interview with Tracy Connors, it is on my channel.
Cross
Cross
promotion.
promotion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got to do
There
it.
he is. Sweep up all those George Webb users.
That's it.
NATO. Here we come.
Fun fact, all this YouTube censorship is actually my fault. It's a big ploy to funnel all of the other followers to my channel.
Oh, there
That
you go.
could be it.
It's the
Hey,
herd.
Now
yeah.
watch me get axed in like a
Addy, yeah, we'll have Addy be our sheepdog here. Yeah, herd us up.
yeah.
Well, all right. I feel like I've covered it.
That's about
We've been going about 100 minutes here, people. This is Late Night with Addy Ads, Late Night with George Webb, Detroit Dave, Tom CIA,
Last
and
chance to,
the incomparable Super Jew Aaron Adler. We're actually gonna close the lines if that's okay, Aaron.
Yeah.
I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. We actually went live tonight once again on the brand new tube. I implore people to go over there because, as Paul was saying, we have to make our connections, our networks more robust. And I just want to share my Discord link just in case we get axed again. We can use that as a sort of readout, a digital readout, just for communicating. But if you want all things George Webb, go to his Twitter. He still has a Twitter. He's got like 70,000 followers over there. So
I thought Bob actually had a pretty good question, which is how did this thing go global in like a month, right? And if, Shrimp Zoo laughed at Shin Shin on Chi, but a later study came out after the outbreak in October and said, wait a minute, we had these outbreaks as early as August 2019. And there was all these games. There was tennis tournaments and the U.S. basketball team. There was all these teams for 3 months coming and going. Go ahead.
And I was also going to say too, with just the patient 31, I mean, that was like within the first week of COVID, and they had the stats on her for how many cross infections. I mean, this stuff was being monitored from the beginning.
And why I say that they're suppressing patient 0 through 31 is you can't count to 31 without going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you had to know who those people are, right? You wouldn't be able to say who 31 is. So the military is behind it, and they're suppressing it. Otherwise, they would be coming out and saying this is a public health crisis. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have you talked to any of these people?
Yeah,
right?
and I think Shrimpsu believed you, George. He was just laughing at the term super spreading prostitute.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, if you're gonna if you're gonna go that route, then that's the style you want.
I mean, here's Fauci saying that's the only way you can't get it. Go ahead and sleep with a stranger, and you won't get it. Remember,
it's
he
only
said
if
that.
you swipe right, though. If you both swipe right, that's a risk that you can take on. But he's not going to suggest.
But
that
he
you not
actually
do it.
said that. This mask that, remember, for a while there, he was 27 feet. This is a virus
27 feet,
that had the range of a missile.
But that was also right when they were going to not do an emergency nomination for him to be the sexiest man alive in his 80s or whatever. I mean, there was just. Fauci, they were just trying to build him up as not only the great mind, but also just,
Brad Pitt,
look what he's deteriorated.
Just an icon, yeah.
I mean, as far as in Trump's eyes, and
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
Just
Well, there you go.
There we are,
Andy,
folks.
You can do the wrap. I'm sorry.
Stay frosty. We're going to be here tomorrow again. Brand new YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Go over to Neighborhood News Hour Facebook and go over to my Facebook too. You can actually watch the streams over there too. It's not as big of a channel for viewing, but for whatever reason, they're actually axing YouTube more now than Facebook. So that's another place that you can view our streams.
Can I ask one question?
Blackberries
of them?
matter, folks. Blackberries matter.
We were debating before we went live here if we should go see Eric Trump again tomorrow. If anybody thinks that they want to see George Webb interview Eric Trump again, potentially let us know. Otherwise, we may just stay here in the studio and hang out. So,
well,
it was a pretty good visit last time. I really enjoyed your video. But...
Donald Trump, I was able to ask, Junior, I was able to ask 2 questions too. But because they're moving along, you have to ask really super quick questions that are 5 words or less. I was like, what do you think about this YouTube banning everybody or censorship? Well, I think it's really bad. We should definitely do something about it. What do you think about an injunction or cease and desist with Twitter? I'm not in the government, so it's like you only have a chance to like 3-word answers, and you have to,
Be on it. I was right there when he did it.
Yeah,
and
and
I asked him what the same sort of thing.
yeah, and yeah,
It's
I agree
short.
with you. And then they're on to the next
Yeah,
thing.
he said we've got to do something about this YouTube censorship.
Yeah.
Basically.
So when they come back close to here, then which they will.
2 hours might be pushing it, huh?
Well,
But they'll
I
come
agree.
back-
I was
they'll
thinking
come
it's a
back
little
close.
much.
and
I
Trump
was thinking
will be
it's a little
here,
much.
you know, within the next few days. with
Trump
him.
will be here
So
the
I'd
next
rather go see him. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
about you guys.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'd rather take our time to do
Election week, folks.
But he was good
coming
to his
up.
word, remember? Because the last thing he said, I said, "Are you coming back to Michigan and
Oh, yeah.
Ohio?" He goes, "Yes, many times."
Well, they said they'd been 55 places in the last 2 days. Can you
Yeah.
imagine that?
6 a day.
The whole family, each individual family members and his father, 55 places in Michigan.
And they were just
I
going
mean,
airport, touchdown.
and he's
touchdown.
still saying that Donald Trump's still saying that he's going to be pounding it out too. I mean, you sure don't see Biden doing that, man.
Yeah,
Unless
Biden's
they're
gonna
watching
put-
Hunter videos. Then I don't know. They might be seeing it.
Well, it's crazy. Let's
yeah.
do it.
Well, there you are, folks. Election week 2020.
Gonna get crazy.
We'll see you all tomorrow. Stay
Right.
frosty.
Stay frosty.
Stay
everybody.
frosty, y'all.